Day 2 of our LV Game of the Week was another good one for Jason Roy, who, for the second time this summer, knocked off the best score of his career. Surrey began the second morning on 145 for 4, Roy and Stephen Davis already adding 71 runs for the 5th wicket, and the two of them were to add many more in a morning session dominated by the home team, especially Roy, who hit an incredible 111 runs by himself in the 28 overs we had, the amount reduced a little by a rain shower. In spite of starting the day 20 runs behind his partner, it was Roy who was at his 51st. He reached it with his 8th 4 from the 80 balls he'd faced. Not only had he dominated the scoring up to this point, but he'd also had most of the strike, and he was making full use of that. Davis was at his half-century, the 4th time he's got that far in 9 championship innings this summer, quicker than Roy, even though he had been at the crease for 8 overs more than his partner. Davis had needed 68 deliveries for his 50, 9 of which had brought him boundaries. It was at this point that Roy took over with another performance which will have had many of his supporters glowing. He had already made the best score of his career just a couple of weeks ago against Northamptonshire at Wantage Road, and he was to again beat that score of 140 here. Rarely an over went by without him finding the boundary, but it was the introduction of Simon Kerrigan, a man who perhaps doesn't have too many fond memories of this South London ground, which saw Roy race through the gears. The spinner's second over of the day cost 18 runs, Roy twice hitting him for 6s as he raced into the 90s, leaving Davis in his wake. These were wonderful strikes from a player with a very good eye and an excellent sense of timing. Still only 24 years of age, the hard-hitting batsman can be the match of anybody in the game when on top form, and was certainly at the top of his game by now, threatening to take this game away from Lancashire. So quickly had Roy moved through the numbers that Davis was on only 57 when a second successive 4 off Kerrigan took Roy to the 600 of his first-class career and his second of this season. He'd needed only 114 balls for this one, his second 50 occupying just 34, and his tally of boundaries was now up at 15 4s and 2 maximums. He was in unstoppable and quite brilliant form. And he was not finished yet either. By the end of this innings, he'd passed 500 championship runs in 9 knocks this year, and that for a man who comes in at number 6. His average is in the mid-60s and his strike rate in the mid-90s. This is fast becoming the real breakthrough season for a man who's already turned many heads in the one-day arena. He treats the first-class game in very much the same way. Davis played his part too, and another excellent contribution from him should not be ignored. By the time lunch arrived, he and Roy had put their team in control of this match, taking the total to 289 for 4, 144 runs coming in 28 overs in the morning, with Roy making 111 of them. The partnership between the two is now at 215 and counting. They added 21 more in the afternoon, Roy going on to 143, an innings filled with all sorts of magical shots. But then a cut-off Kyle Jarvis, armed with the new ball, for once failed to find the gap, and Ashwell Prince would have been delighted to hold on to send Roy off to a standing ovation with a total on 310 for 5. One wicket often brings 2, and 3 overs later, Tom Bailey found the edge of Davis's bat. He on his way for 86 as Paul Horton grabbed his 3rd catch of the innings. Davis's tally of championship runs this summer was up to 633 at an average of 90. Only Prince has scored more. With those two batsmen out in quick succession, Lancashire may have thought that they'd broken the back of the Surrey innings, but if they did think that, they were to be proven wrong, as Ben Folkes, the former Essex player, making his first appearance for Surrey since his move from Chelmsford, simply picked up where Roy and Davis had left off. He and Gareth Batty began to put bat to ball well, the runs continuing to come at a very good lick, the home side reaching their 350 in the 92nd over. Maximum batting points for this innings now a near certainty. Given the troubles of batting in Beckenham last week, Surrey's batsmen must have been pleased to be back at the Oval, a ground which offers one of the better batting surfaces in the country. Folkes and Batty put on 78 runs for the 7th wicket in the space of 18 overs, the total moving up to 396. When Batty was LBW to Jordan Clark for 36, bearing in mind that Surrey had slipped to 74 for 4 at one point on day 1, A total on the edge of 400 was a great achievement, especially after the home side were inserted in this game. The 400 was passed, but on 408 Surrey lost their 8th wicket, Tom Curran giving Clark his 3rd of the innings with a gloved pull behind. Curran was on his way for half a dozen, but Lancashire was still left to face more punishment. Folks will have been thrilled with his start. James Foster had kept him out of the Essex side for much of the 22-year-old's career, one which has seen the talented keeper earn a place in the Lions squad. His opportunities have been limited in recent times though, so to get a 50 off 73 balls with 8 fours was a pretty good way to show his new county what he's capable of. Not long after that moment, the covers were back on and the players were off, with a total reading 435 for 8, Folks moving on to 60. There was no more play as the thoughts of both teams turned to the innings of Roy.
I thought he played very well, and he's consistently been there or thereabouts the sort of last couple of years, so he's a very good player. Jace thought he played nicely today, took the attack back to us. I think he's got a bright future, you know, in the shorter forms at the moment particularly, but all round he looks a very decent player.
Yeah, I didn't go out there with any preconceived ideas of what I wanted to do. I just went out there and batted and just wanted to bat time. The boundaries just came in flurries, so it was obviously nice to manage to get a big score. Obviously a huge shame not to get a bigger one, but that day will come.
So if the weather improves in South London on Tuesday, Surrey will go again handily placed, but this game already appears to be heading towards a draw.